I'm so excited to be joined here today by Lizzie Damilola Blackburn, who is a best-selling author of Yinka, Where Is Your Husband? And The Rewrite, which I have here with me. And if you're watching the video episode, you can see how beautiful these book covers are. But if you've joined us by audio, hello, hi, welcome as well. Thank you so much, Lizzie, for joining me today in the 184 podcast. It's so brilliant to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Vinny. Yeah, glad to be here.
No worries at all. So I suppose it would be great to just hear a little mini overview at first, just so people can kind of get to know you.
I'm Lizzie. I'm a British Nigerian author, and yeah, I've started writing ever since. It sounds cliche, but ever since I was a little girl. But really got into it in my early 20s when my mum started asking me, where's my husband? When am I going to settle down? And that's what kind of
Oh.
inspired my first book, Yinka, Where's Your Husband? And my second book, The Rewrite, came out in Feb. And I tend to write like contemporary, like romance. Most of my books are set in the heart of South London, which is where I'm originally from. So I grew up in Peckham for the first 13 years of my life. And then I moved to Belvedere, which is in Greater London slash Kent. And now I live in Milton Keynes with my husband and my one-year-old son, who keeps me on my toes every single day.
Oh, that's so lovely. And already I'm just so excited to kind of delve further into your journey there. But I thought also it would be great to kind of highlight how we first met actually, because we have like a little mini crossover.
Yeah,
It was actually at a University of Warwick careers fair that we met. And when was that now? I feel like it seems
it
like it was
had
a while ago.
it was a while ago, yeah. I want to say it was early Feb. I think the first,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so had your book look so your book had launched at that point, or
No,
was it about to?
about to, yes, yeah, yeah.
That's so
It was the week
exciting.
before my book was launched because I remember telling people that, yeah, I'm plugging it
Oh,
in.
oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we both attended the University of Warwick. So what subjects did you study whilst you're at Warwick?
Yeah, so I attended years ago. I feel like I'm a good decade older than you. So I graduated in 2011. I
Okay.
studied politics and international studies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how about you?
I studied at Warwick from 2018 to 2021. I had to think then. And I studied English and theatre.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. Oh, so that's really interesting because I mean, I shouldn't assume, but in my brain I was thinking, oh, Lizzie studied English, but so that wasn't the case then.
No, I always loved English as like a subject, and it was my favorite
Hmm.
subject in school, and in college as well. But the thing is that I didn't have a great teacher in
Oh, makes
college,
such a
and so I
difference,
decided
doesn't
not
it?
to take it for A levels. I took it as AS level, but not A level.
Hmm.
And yeah, I got more into like politics and history. Like I found it really interesting. And in fact, my dad wanted me to do law at uni, but we
Mm.
compromised with, with politics and international studies. But yeah, I didn't do an English degree. And you don't need to have an English or creative writing background to be an author. I think it's just having a story that you're really
Hmm.
passionate about. And I think more so like the commitment, the drive, and the resilience.
Oh, I love that already because I feel like, especially, when you're younger and things, people assume that if you haven't gone down a certain path, that means that they definitely can't go in the direction that they actually want to. They kind of put
Yeah.
barriers in
Mm,
place.
hmm.
And sometimes it's not the fault of like the individual, it's more society that makes you think that once you've gone down a road, you can't really like steer in another direction. So I think that's really great to hear actually that, you didn't actually study English at university, but look at you now, you're a best-selling author. Like that's just so cool and it shows how in life you can switch up lanes as many times as you want to.
Yeah, you can always pivot. I think you just need to, um, n- I guess, accept that it will take time because,
Hmm.
I didn't write Yinka overnight. It took me, I think, 5+ years to
Oh
write
my
it
goodness.
because I was
Yeah.
writing it alongside a full-time job.
Oh
And
wow.
life just gets in the way. Like, so much happened within that time. Like, I got married, I moved to a different city, and all this had an impact on my time as well. Like, so I think anything is achievable and possible, but I think people put constriction on themselves if they don't get it done within a short space of time and they feel like, oh, I can't do it. So I feel like
Mm.
people should give themselves the grace period of like, it will take however long it takes and just have that kind of commitment and passion to kind of see it through.
Yeah, for sure. I think I totally agree. It's all about having that determination. And like you said, I feel like, in the world of like social media and TikTok and things, people are so focused on the quick wins. They'll see someone go viral and they're like, oh my gosh, I want it to happen like that for me. But the
Yeah,
reality is, someone's probably posted a million times before that viral moment happened,
exactly.
but nobody ever saw that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is funny the world that we're living in right now and how it can influence so many things, which you definitely delve into, particularly with this lovely novel here, which we can delve into further later on in the podcast episode. But yeah, so we both went to Warwick, studied different subjects, but our paths kind of crossed over at the Warwick Careers Fair, which was really lovely. So we were at we were both on the panel side, and we were talking to the students who are really enthusiastic. And then I saw Lizzie to the side of me and I saw like a pile of books and I was like, oh my goodness, I have to go and say hello. And I'm so glad that I did. Um, yeah, I just think it's so exciting to see, all the different creative career paths that everybody goes on after university or whatever creative path way that people choose, because obviously university isn't the only way people can go about things and in the direction in their future and career. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining me, because if it wasn't for us meeting there, this probably wouldn't have happened, I guess. And I've been blessed to read your novels and your texts. But one thing that you mentioned just previously was, the importance of faith and determination. And I feel like that's definitely a theme that I could see being delved into further across both texts. The
Mm.
importance of faith, the importance of determination, perseverance despite all the outside noise. Is this something that's like quite personal to you and something you've experienced, and that's why it's so prevalent within the text itself?
Yeah, so I guess you can see faith in twofold. So I guess faith, I guess, in a religious aspect, and also faith in yourself as well. So
Mm-hmm.
self-motivation. Um, when I was writing Yinka, Yinka is a Christian character, and I'm a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and for a long time I was looking for like commercial fiction. That had a Christian protagonist, especially
Mm-hmm.
especially in the romance genre, and I just couldn't find any. Like they were mostly like confined to Christian like fiction, I guess. And so that was very like important for me to make sure that I didn't kind of compromise on that, and to, I guess, to normalize like, a protagonist, who happens to be, a Christian, and to kind of like debunk some of the maybe preconceptions people might have about Christians in terms of like faith in yourself. Yeah, I feel like, everyone needs that basically, because I think that's the first step in order to, achieve your dreams. Like you need to have that kind of motivation, that belief in yourself that you can do it,
Yeah.
and also to see through the process as well. No matter, the hurdles that you come across, that you will get there in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, and like you mentioned, it's prevalent in both books. So Temi, who is a writer in the rewrite, and many writers can attest to this, that you need that kind of like self motivation to kind of like get up
Mm.
and do it again. Because writing is not a sprint; it's definitely a marathon.
Yeah, oh goodness, I can imagine. And so, you said like you've loved writing ever since you were young. Was it always the vision and goal to be an author and to write your own text, or was it just something that you enjoyed and it kind of snowballed from there?
Yeah. So when I was younger, do you know authors such as Jacqueline Wilson?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Marilee Blackman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I loved like their books, and I used to like try and write like them. So I even started writing my first novel when I was like, I think 10 or so.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I just loved it. Like I'll just spend like like dinner time, just in front of the computer, just writing. But funny
Mm-hmm.
enough, I wanted to be a journalist. Like, I don't think I
Oh,
wanted to be an author. It was more so, yeah,
okay.
journalism that yeah spoke to me. But I remember like when I told my dad, he's found his newspaper ads with a journalist entry level job, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it was quite low to pay, and he was like, "So this is what you want to become." And that's how we talked about law and getting into that and
Yeah.
it's politics. So yeah, for a very long time, I kind of put writing to the backbone, I guess. Also because the internet came out, I'm showing my age here, like when I was in my late teens, and I got
Mm.
a bit distracted with that. I wasn't really, reading and writing as much.
Mm.
Mm. And it wasn't until after a bad brief breakup, that's when I started to write Yinka's story, which started
Mm.
as a short story on a blog that I ran.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and then I met this author at a blogging workshop, Jackie Lay, who an incredible, amazing woman. And basically, I just wanted feedback on my writing, so I shared the blog with her, and she was the one who, she really loved Yinka as a character, and she said, you know what, I feel like her story would make a great novel. So I
Wow.
like, took on a challenge quite blindly, didn't know what it takes to write a novel,
Mm.
and yeah, the rest is history.
Oh my goodness, I love that. And I love the fact that, you went to, a writing workshop, but never perhaps with that anticipation you're going to leave then be like, right, I'm writing a novel now. So that's so exciting to think that, if you didn't attend that, what may or may not have happened.
Mm,
Um, and I think that's also the importance there, like you're highlighting of, putting yourself out there, but not necessarily in way of like, hey, hello, this is me, but trying to develop your craft, and you never know who you're going to meet at these events and how it could really change the course of everything. So that's such a really poignant moment in your journey then that
mm,
that happened, and it's really cool to hear. So it started off as a blog beforehand, and
yeah.
yeah, okay, so it's like really shifted in its format and its shape, and yeah, it really has gone on quite a lot of a journey then.
Yeah, yeah. So this blog that I ran, what I would do, I would post like chapters each week, and
Mm.
then I would allow my readers, my viewers, literally my family and friends,
Aw.
to kind of like vote on what they want to happen next. And there'll be
Ooh.
a poll at the end of the chapter, and then
Oh,
I'll
that's
basically
so
make a chapter
cool.
based on what they picked.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so cool. That really reminds me of, on Netflix with the various shows. I'm trying to think of the
Oh,
titles of the
okay. I
shows
know what you're
now.
chatting about. Yeah, I never watched it in the end, but
Oh,
yeah.
and yeah, and like you could literally like click, I mean, also EastEnders did that recently, didn't they?
Oh, really? Yeah.
With Ruby, or what was the other character's name? It was Ruby or Jack, wasn't it?
Oh, do you know what? I haven't watched EastEnders in years.
Oh, see, I always watched it growing up with my mum and dad, but then the thing is, I guess yeah, just with everything, didn't watch it as religiously as I used to. But then during Christmas time, for some reason, I got really into it again. I
They
was
did it
like, EastEnders.
better.
It's so good, but I mean, I guess you can't really say whether you're a Team Ruby or Team Jack then.
No, I don't know who they are.
Oh, I was Team
That
Ruby.
that name sounds familiar.
It
Is
was with
Robbie's
Denise.
brother by any chance?
Sorry, whose brother?
Sonia, is that her
Oh,
brother?
actually, I think they're related though. Might be, I think it's Sonia's uncle is Jack.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think. But honestly, everyone's family dynamics in EastEnders are so confusing. I'm like, who is related to who? I do not know. But yeah, so it seems like you're really ahead of the time then and ahead of the game, because now that seems to be like the vibe of vote for this person, vote for that, and like change the course of the plot. And even at I don't know if you've heard of Romeo and Juliet that was at the Belgrade recently, Belgrade Theatre in Coventry. But it was like this really cool adaptation which involved like rap and spoken word, and it was a very cool adaptation. But also they had like a voting element and aspect in that too. So
Mm.
you're definitely ahead of the game there. You seem to set off a trend, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this is a perfect segue to actually go into Yinka, Where Is Your Husband further. Would you like to just give a little mini brief overview of the text for anybody who hasn't read it before?
Yeah, so Yinka Where's Your Husband is about a British Nigerian woman who lives in South London, and she's feeling the pressure to settle down by her traditional Nigerian mum and her many aunties, because there's quite a
Mhm.
few in the book. And her cousin gets engaged, and Ginka goes on this quest to find a date in time for her cousin's wedding. But then she kind of like loses herself in the process. And so the story is also a story of like self-love and self-discovery.
Oh, I love it. And I honestly loved this text and novel so much. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
found it so funny as well. Like I'd be on the train or wherever I was reading it and I'd be like, hee hee hee. And I was like, people must be thinking like, what is she reading? I'm like, this fantastic novel. But also what I found about this text was how relatable it is. Of course, I'm not of Nigerian heritage, but I am of Punjabi heritage, and I felt like there were so many different crossovers and things. I was like, yes, I can relate to that. Yes, my auntie would say the same thing. My grandma would have said the same thing. Like, there's so many crossovers, which I think is really lovely to see. But I think at its core is women and womanhood, and like you said, self-discovery and self-love is something that, you know, is an important journey for anybody. But I think as a woman, like going on that journey is quite an emotional process, but also it's all about having that network around you who can support you through that. And who you are is often defined by who you have in your circle as well. And
Yeah.
yeah, there was just so many things that I related to when reading this text, which, you know, we can delve into further. But I think it's so fantastic that you're, you know, representing British Nigerians. I'm sure you've had such a positive response from the community from this novel. I don't know if there's any moments in particular you'd like to share at all.
Yeah, the response has been like just surreal, like honestly. Like till this day, Ginka came out back in 2022, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
still getting messages from people like all over the world saying, you know, not just how much they love the book, but how they feel seen and
Mm-hmm.
how, you know, they're related to Ginka and, you know, maybe feel like they know their self-worth
Mm-hmm.
after reading the book. So just kind of like hearing people's impacts, it's just like so heartening because I just didn't know like the reach of the book while I was writing it, but I just knew I had to write it because there's a very important message in there. I knew that it would, you know, touch a lot of people. And yeah, also for my Nigerian readers as well, like I feel so honored as well because when I was writing this book, I wanted to make sure that I represented our culture
Mm-hmm.
authentically, and that I was, you know, doing my people back at home proud, and all the references were correct as well. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime I do get like great feedback from them, like it just like feels amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's yeah, it's I can't even describe it. I just feel so blessed, really. Um, yeah.
Oh, I feel so happy, you know, for you and to hear that. And yeah, I can definitely see like what a positive impact and difference this novel is making and is still making to this day. It's just so exciting. And again, I can relate to that, you know, as a British Asian myself, you know, even when I was at University of Warwick and I was writing plays, and I always felt the urge to make sure I'm representing. In an ideal world, we would have beautiful, vibrant representations of all the different cultures and heritages, but more often than not, unfortunately, that's not always the case. You have to really like push for that to happen. So to have this here, like, must be such a proud moment for you and for lots of people and, you know, supporters. But yeah, I think at its core, like I was saying, was Yinka as a protagonist and representing women and the pressures that they often face. And again, I'm not in my 30s, but I'm in my mid 20s, and I could still relate to a lot of the pressures that Yinka faces. I am lucky my mum has never been someone who's like, Vinny, when are you getting married? It's more like the older aunties. Like in this novel, oh, have you found anybody? Have you found anybody at weddings now? I'm getting that myself. I'm like, no, no,
Oh God.
please.
Yeah, as soon
Like, I'm
as you
not there yet.
it's like, you know, where's your husband? And then the kids.
It's yeah, it's just so ironic, and also what I love about this text is how funny it is. For example, like I think it's literally on the blurb, it's referenced I'm gonna be able to find it now. It's basically the reference to the bums. I
Okay.
did find that very funny. Because I was like, I relate to that too. I'm like, I've not got a lot going on back there. I mean, in an ideal world, I would.
But I feel like it does have an impact on like women's dating journeys. Like, that's
Mm,
why a lot of women are getting like BBLs,
yeah.
because they're trying to make themselves, some say they do it for themselves, and fair enough. But I do feel like there's a hint of a degree of wanting to be more desirable.
Mm, mm,
Um, and yeah, when I wrote Yinka, I just like, because I wasn't writing with an audience, I could be as cringe as I could be. And I kind of wrote it unfiltered as well. So
mm.
because sometimes when I read it back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe like I put that there. But actually, I'm kinda happy I did, because I didn't filter myself, and I made sure that Yinka was like the most kind of authentic character that she could
Mm.
be. Yeah.
No, for sure. Like I'm even just remembering the line now of I think it was I'm gonna get my squats in today or
Oh yeah.
something, but it was I was like, that is so me. The way I'd be like, yes, I'm gonna start doing my squats and I do like five and then I'm looking in the mirror like, has it made a difference?
Trust me, today like I was carrying my son and doing squats.
It's very funny. Like references like that are just so relatable and hilarious. And I also love the references to music as well. I think there was a moment where Rihanna was referenced, but it was like a really dodgy remix. And I was
Oh,
like, that would so be me as well. Like I could just imagine myself getting excited to hear Rihanna and the DJ does a really dodgy remix. And it's like, come on now,
yeah.
like
They waited for like just one R&B song, and then Rihanna comes on, but it's not like this the standard like, song. They have to remix it with like techno.
yeah.
It'll do. I know Rihanna.
Yeah,
I'll
no,
go.
I loved it. I think the attention to detail is amazing,
Oh, thank
and
you.
so many relevant references and relatable references. And like you said, the way it was written, it wasn't like, you read some novels and texts, and this is a very sweeping statement, but it's often written in a way where it's just not stripped back and very authentic to a present day character, if that makes any sense, like
Yeah.
21st century character. Like some of the references, like you said, oh, it's like a bit cringe, but I think that's why it's so loved. It's just great. Like that's what makes it. Like that's what makes us love Yinka, because you could just really imagine her. I could
Yeah.
just see Yinka now, like she's one of my besties, and that's because of how, yeah, just how relatable the language is and just how real it is and authentic. I think it definitely brings Yinka to life. Moving on to a slightly different topic within the novel, and we touched upon this previously. One thing that's very prevalent within this text is the notion of losing yourself, but then rediscovering that spark again, and how difficult that journey can be, but how rewarding it is at the end too. And how sometimes, is there that saying about a mirror or something breaking, but then it kind of all falls to place in the end? I don't
Okay.
know. I swear there is a saying like that. I'm probably not doing it justice right now. But that's the kind of impression I get of this novel. It would be great to hear if you can maybe delve into that a bit further, maybe your thought process behind it, why you wanted to include this journey for this character and why it's important to highlight.
Yeah, like I feel like I really put Yinka through the ringer. But I really want to kind of show like how like you mentioned how like your aunties are asking about, where's your husband? And it can seem so innocent. But for someone who really has a strong desire to get married, and they're not like having any luck whatsoever, that constant reminder that you're by yourself, that you're single, can have a really, negative knock-on effect on your self-esteem. And
Mm,
it can make you kind of spiral out of control, and, do things that you might not do, only
mm,
because you're so desperate that you're trying everything. And when I was looking for my, my own husband, I remember I think I spent like a good year just trying to, that's all I did. I just dated. Like whether it was online, going to events. I won't say anything because it's a bit too cringe, but like it became like a job in itself.
mm,
And so I kind of wanted to show like how it can get to that point. and how easy it is to get to that point as well, and how it can have a how it can have an impact on your mental well-being, and
Mm.
how you see yourself, how you know navigate even like your friendships or your family relationships as well. So with Yinka, she became more distant with her sister
Yeah.
and her mum as well. And also the importance of like reaching out for help as well. So whether that's, you know, through counseling, reaching out to friends, family members, yeah, just making sure that you have that kind of safe space to share your feelings because otherwise, yeah, it can have a really like lasting effects on people's self-esteem and their mental well-being. Uh,
Hmm.
so yeah, I felt like this, you know, an optimal opportunity to kind of like raise awareness of like mental health and importance of therapy.
Hmm. For sure. And that's something I wanted to delve into as well, actually. I thought it was really important and really refreshing to see how therapy was referenced in the text. I think it would have been very easy to, see the character go through what she's going through and then try and see her kind of come out of that by herself and as an individual, but therapy is a tool which people can have access to, and it was really just lovely to see how her network around her and her loved ones were encouraging her to have therapy to try and help her out of the situation she was in. And it was actually really lovely to see how her family and friends could see the difference and change in her and were all trying to support her in the best ways that they could. I just thought that was like really lovely to include in that, because I feel like therapy and talking about your feelings is still quite a taboo in a lot of cultures
Yeah,
and pockets of society.
yeah, it can seem like this like scary thing and this big thing to kind of like commit to as well. Like, oh, you have to have like so many sessions, for example, or like you kind of have to know what you're going to say when you go to therapy. And I kind of wanted to remove all that. Um,
Mm.
so, you know, Yuka doesn't go to as many sessions in the book, also because I was limited in terms of pages. Otherwise, the story would have continued. But also to show like the breakthrough you can have just by having, one or two sessions. And sometimes it just takes like someone who is kind of qualified and to ask those reflective questions to really get
Mm.
you to think about things in a different way as well, and um, how that can be a breakthrough in itself. Um, yeah.
For sure. And that just reminds me of the moment where Yinka writes a letter, which I thought was really lovely. And actually, I think throughout the text, which was nice, was having like the text messages and the letters and having that to kind of break up the novel. I thought was really nice. And actually, now you said that you were influenced by Jacqueline Wilson, I can kind of see maybe how
Oh,
it was that a little like influence there, perhaps that kind of carried on a little bit.
yeah. So I wanted it to feel like people were like actually watching a TV show as well. So you know when you watch a TV show, there might a character might receive a text and then you see it kind of pop up on the screen.
Mm.
So I wanted it to be like as interactive as that as well. And I feel like, you know, a good way to kind of get into someone's psyche is to like look into their internet history as well, because
Ooh.
that's a lot, lot about person as well. So I thought that'd be cool to include. And then with like the letter to her younger self, so I actually did, as part of my research for Yinka, I did a real session with a therapist. So
Okay.
I pretended to be, well, I told her what I was, doing, but I pretended to be Yinka and presented like Yinka's problems. And
Mm.
the therapist then kind of like suggested different things. So what you see in the book, such as the letter to your younger self, um, the chair work exercise, which is when you kind of like speak to the person who don't have the guts to kind of speak to them um in person about you pretend that they sit on the chair and have a conversation with them. So that was what she suggested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it's really interesting hearing the whole process, because it just highlights how many different subject areas and like influences actually come into play when it comes to writing a novel? Because when you said you carried out that exercise, of course that's like linked to healthcare and mental health sector, but also it kind of reminds me of like the theatre aspect of things. Like when I studied English and theatre, we would always find and discover different ways to really delve into the psyche of a character and really unpack it and things. So that's really interesting to hear kind of the process and journey you went on in really getting to grips with Yinka and understanding her like thought process. But it's also interesting to hear how you were kind of inspired by the whole idea of like text popping up on a screen, because as I was reading this I was like, oh my gosh, I could imagine this either as like a film or a series. I could just see the characters on the screen. Like, is this something that you would be looking towards perhaps in the future, or I don't know?
Well, it's actually been options. So there is a producer, and I think the script has already been written already. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so everything's still pretty hush hush at the moment. But I think the last update I got, because I'm not involved in the process, is I think they were looking for a director. So
Oh.
they're looking to adapt Yinka into to a film. So
Oh
fingers
my god.
crossed, it will happen. 'Cause I know, like with the TV world, like things just takes time, or things sometimes fall through. But the producer, she's very passionate about the story, and yeah, I feel like Yinka's in safe hands.
That is, oh my god, I feel so excited for you. That is so exciting. So you said it's going to be a film.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm like fangirling right now. It's funny you say that though, because I was thinking like, as I mean, I was comparing like the two, different genres. I was like, series or a film, but I was leaning towards a film as well. I could just imagine it just being like
Okay.
wrapped up really nicely. And also the way, I'm not going to say how it ends, but I feel like the way it ends as well, I could just imagine it like playing out on the screen and it just being like a nice ribbon, to it at the end. But that is incredibly exciting. Congratulations,
Thank you.
on that journey and process. When you were writing this, it started out as a blog. Could you have ever imagined at that point in time that you would have gone on this like journey and process to, writing a novel, to then it being developed into further works, into a film? Like, could younger Lizzie ever imagine that?
Yes and no. Probably like I think at the beginning, like I didn't like I just wanted a book out there.
Yeah.
So I didn't even mind if it was self-published or if I had a small publisher. I just wanted a book out there because I felt like, yeah, people need to read this book. When I got married, because my husband, Martin, bless him, he is like he dreams big, and he
Oh,
really like encouraged me to kind of like expand my dreams, I guess, and
oh, I love that.
my belief in myself. So I started to put like things on my vision boards, which at the time seemed a bit far fetched or a bit like, oh, I'm not too sure what's going to happen. I'm going to put it on there anyway. And it's crazy because when I look back on it, a lot of things have come to pass.
Oh, I love
So
that.
yeah, it just shows that you can't put like a limit on things because you
Mm,
just never know. And there's no harm like dreaming big. If anything,
mm,
like you kind of shortchange yourself by dreaming small, because
yeah.
when you dream big, you start to kind of like give yourself permission to take risk or like to ask for things which you normally wouldn't. And you just don't know what's kind of on the other side as well. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been surreal. I've actually had to create a different second vision board because like most of the things that I put on my first one has been, yeah, I've ticked it off, which is, I have to give all thanks to God because
Yeah.
yeah, he's the captain of my life. And he's definitely like steering me to the right places and people. So yeah,
Oh,
I'm really grateful. I feel
oh,
blessed.
that's so wonderful to hear, and it's so inspiring. And I love the fact that it's spilling over into the second vision board with TikTok and like Pinterest and Instagram. I feel like more people are talking about, like depends on beliefs. Some people call it like power of manifestation, or if it's religious beliefs. But I feel like it's all linked to a higher power. And
Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? You're inspiring me to also like really nail down my vision board. Maybe that could be my project this week.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. And like once you make it, like, because there's a tendency for people to just like create one and then they never look at it again.
Mm,
So, but keep on looking at it. And also I really believe in like the power of the tongue as well. So like whatever you want to be, just kind of like say it out aloud. I
mm.
do believe that there's something in, attracting and yeah, attracting things like good things to you. So yeah, I definitely say go for it.
I'm just so inspired right now. I feel like I need a moment. I feel like across both texts, including the rewrites, the protagonists do talk a lot about beauty standards, their appearance, and pressure of society. And I do feel like someone who consumes a lot on TikTok, probably too much. I do scroll a lot on there. I don't know about you, Lizzie, if you have TikTok.
Not TikTok, but Instagram. Yeah, sometimes I
Instagram,
get
yeah.
indulgence.
I mean, to be fair, like even Instagram now they have their own Reels tab.
Yeah.
It's easy to get in the loop on there too. You can't even escape it on Instagram now. But yeah, I feel like there is this increasing pressure to, look a certain way, act a certain way, be a certain way. So again, I think this is actually these two novels are such a beautiful way to, really speak to younger audiences, and not even younger, it doesn't matter what age you are. I think regardless, these two novels can be so enjoyable, but I think it is really important to have like role models in the protagonist to really speak to the audiences reading these texts, to say that you don't have to fit a certain teeny tiny bracket,
Mm,
which is so widely highlighted and focused on and celebrated within the media, because there's so much more to life than just that little representation. What was it within you that felt like it was important to really highlight that within the two novels?
mm. Good question. So I feel like as an author, especially as like a black author, like a duty to like represent black women in all our shapes and forms. So
Mhm.
whether that is, complexion. So Yinka is dark skin, um, or size. So Temi in the rewrite, she's plus size. Um, and to kind of like show the beauty in our differences as well, but also like show the realism as well. So for
Mhm.
example, like, what it means to be a dark skinned woman and, and navigating dating, for example, and the same with being a plus size woman too, because this all links to, beauty standards, like he
Mhm.
said, and how it's sadly, very westernized.
Yeah.
And if I have an opportunity to say, like, hold on, like, this isn't right, this all stems from like slavery and we've been like brainwashed, and
Mm.
to play a part in kind of like um undoing some of those like internalizations, then why not try and do it in my writing?
Mhm.
Um, because I can't rely on white authors to do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And if they did, like, how well,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I feel like those who write from their own voices can really draw on from experiences as
For
well.
sure.
So yeah, I feel like I have a responsibility to make sure that I am using my voice and my writing in a positive, I guess, and changing the narrative kind of way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's really inspiring. And it just shows how you're using your craft and your gift to make a positive difference. And I feel like we need more of that in the world. So it's lovely that you're pouring yourself into that, and yeah, making a positive difference to lots of people who are reading your wonderful novels. So I feel like we've briefly mentioned the rewrite, but I feel like it's time that perhaps we segue into this novel. So this is your second novel. If you could please give a little general overview again for people who haven't perhaps read the text itself, that would be fabulous.
Yeah, so The Rewrite is another contemporary rom-com set in South London. and it follows Temi, who is a British Nigerian writer, and she lands herself this opportunity to ghostwrite for a celebrity, but to her shock and horror, it ends up being her ex, who's fresh off
Mhm.
the world's biggest reality TV dating show called The Villa, which is basically Love Island. And so now she has 6 weeks to work with Wale, her ex-boyfriend, and to somehow not fall for him in the process as well. And so, this book is a celebration of like second chances, but also at the heart of the book is all about, going after what you want, but also,
Mm.
staying true to yourself while you do it.
Yeah. I mean, again, like when I was reading this, I was like, oh my goodness, I've never seen a novel be based on the craziness that is reality TV show, including, like you said, Love Island, basically. I remember when Love Island first became a thing, I was like in secondary school, and particularly on the school trip we went on in 2017, maybe 2016, it was like Love Island was this whole cultural experience where all the different year groups from all the different schools that were on the school trip all gathered in this room on this
Oh,
tiny TV screen, and even the teachers, we were all just watching Love Island, and it was just so crazy looking back. It was like this whole like national thing that was
like
going on.
football.
Yeah, it was literally like football. It was so funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's very, interesting seeing, the references. Of course, they're not even references, it's very much the basis of the text itself. But as I was kind of touching on earlier on, there seems to be like this continuation of themes from the first novel into this novel. So I think, I mean, as an author, do you think this is like definitely your like lane, and this is what you feel very passionate about writing about, romance and self-discovery and all those lovely themes? Or do you think in the future you could imagine yourself like maybe going towards different? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mentioned as well, like sadly my mum passed away
Mm-hmm.
a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear
Or
that.
thank you. I think before I would have said, yeah, like romance is like the lane I want to kind of stick to. But I think
Mm.
since my mum's passing, I think I kind of want to open myself up to other genres as
Mm.
well. So I don't know what genre it will be. Like I don't want to say serious like fiction, but more so maybe it's more so women's fiction.
Mm.
Um so where like romance is not like the I guess core focus. It could be like a subplot, but something else is like the main drive behind the book. So maybe even YA, so young adults writing for a younger audience. So yeah, it's been something I've been thinking about for the last few weeks. Maybe open myself up to other genres and other topics as well. Yes, I do want to write. Yeah, just beyond romance.
Yeah, no, I think it highlights how, as an author, like the process and journey is reflected of your individual journey as well. So you were saying how Yinka's character was influenced by your personal experiences of finding your husband and like searching, and then it's kind of like these life experiences are then poured into your work, which I think it shows how being an author is such like a personal vocation in a way, because I guess, I mean, I haven't personally written a novel, but I have written plays before, and you do end up pouring a lot of yourself into it, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes I feel like it might be even subconscious.
Yeah.
It might be like not in this instance, but in my case, maybe it's like your alter ego or like a different perspective in your brain that you haven't let out before, and it kind of rolls out on the pages. Yeah, it is very interesting to see how your personal life experiences or journey does reflect in text and influence, like, the journey you want to go on moving forward. I thought one thing which I noticed about the two main protagonists across both texts, including in the rewrite, is how the protagonists often have a tendency to, just have some little white lies. just
That's
kind of like
to say this.
snowballs.
Yeah. So for Yinka, like I didn't realize how bad it was until a few readers started pointing out to me. I was like, oh gosh, like she seems a bit like and then I guess with Temi, I think you know what it is. I think it just stems from like a place of desperation. You know, when you get to that
Mm,
point where you feel like there's no way out and you
yeah.
kind of, dug yourself into a hole. You're like, "Oh, I'm here now. I might as well just like dig deeper." I
Yeah.
think that's Temi and Yinka are, and they feel like the stakes are too high for me to admit the truth. Uh,
Mm.
so I might as well just like not. But obviously, like it comes to bite them in the bum later on in the book.
Yeah, I feel like it comes from a place of love, and it's not coming from like a really dark place where they're like, I must lie to get what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want. It's very much like a human, relatable experience where it's like, oh, I just say this for now, and then eventually I will say the truth, but then that eventually doesn't really happen, and then it kind of happens in a way in which you might not have
yeah.
like the information to be revealed in the end. But I feel like it does again highlight the very human nature of giving in to pressure and
Mm,
just panicking in the moment and thinking, oh, I've got to like please those around me. And again, it's the pressure from parents and society, and but
yeah.
also like the pressure you put on yourself.
Hmm.
I think because like as humans, as individuals, yes, there's outside noise, but ultimately it's like us that make the decisions. So it's
Hmm.
whether we choose to also listen to the noise and the people around us and those opinions, or whether we're strong enough to kind of like say, no, 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 this is what I want to do. So again, it's interesting to see the protagonist's journey as to whether they come to some sort of breaking point where they're like, I'm not doing this anymore. But
Mm.
like, how long does it take for them to get to that point? I think is, really interesting to see. But yeah, that is funny. That was like one thing I did notice. But again, it's like it's fun as well at the same time. It's real. You're not presenting characters that are like these perfect, unattainable, you know, demonstrations of humans and women and these perfect idealizations. And
Yeah.
again, I think that's why so many people love your texts and novels, is because it is just that to the core.
And also I feel like it's a reflection of their relationship with maybe like their parents or friends, or in like Temi's case, her agent. So for example, Temi, like she's a bit like scared of her agent. And so I can understand when someone is a bit terrified of someone, why they might not be as forthcoming or why they might omit certain things. Same with Yinka and her mum. Like she was a
Mm,
bit like scared of her mum. So I think it shows their relationship. Like the reason why she Yinka and Temi can't be fully honest is because they don't have that kind of relationship yet.
mm,
So towards the end of the book, we see them getting to that stage where they can be, have an open conversation where Yinka could be more vulnerable, where Temi can be more honest as well. So yeah, there's a I was a bit deliberate, you know,
yeah,
in my
yeah,
choice
for
to make them
sure.
liars.
Yeah. But again, when I was like reading the rewrite, I mean, when Temi agrees to take on the job, I was like,
Oh,
oh my god. I was like, what is going on? I was like, no, like why? Please just say the truth. Even when it was the moment of, you definitely want to take on this job role, like, are you sure? And
mm.
she says yes. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was feeling stressed. Wow. I was like, not only have you got to write your own novel, you're gonna
And
be writing,
it's
you
like,
know, I was just, my brain was like, it's definitely like a crazy plot. I don't think I would be able to do that myself,
me too.
especially, yeah, seeing your ex on the TV and having to write for him. I think also that moment where they're on the Zoom call together and no one's saying anything, and I'm like, I just would not be able to cope. Like,
You have
absolutely
Handmaid's Bed
not.
in the background as well.
Yeah,
It's like, oh
like
God, what's
no,
this?
no. So yeah, these characters are definitely very strong-willed, even if it kind of, comes about in certain roundabout ways and questionable ways at times, but that's what makes them human. It's great to see their determination throughout it. Yeah, it's just really fantastic to see their character development. I think across both texts, it's really cool to see, just the little moments like the text messages and the group chats, and then with the rewrite having a plot that's so relatable and so prevalent to today's society with the references to reality TV shows. Across TikTok as well, you'll see, my ex is on here and they said this
Mhm.
and they said that. Like, it's very much part of society now.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with like Instagram pages such as Shade Bar and the
Oh
Shade.
no.
Oh, okay. So you know the tea lounge in Devi, right? I
Oh yeah,
based
yeah, yeah.
the Shade Bar, which is basically like an account page, and the target audience is mainly like Black British people,
Mhm.
and they just kind of like post, celeb news or
Oh, I
anything.
see.
Yeah, but the way they post it is to get a reaction from people. So they might like,
Ah.
it's a headline that they might use or the photos, and sometimes just like things that are not really news, if that makes sense. So, for example,
Mhm.
I don't know, someone has got a new BBL or you know what I mean. So it's kind of like a go-to place for like for news, for
Yeah.
celebrity news, yeah, for Black British people. So
Yeah.
yes, that's what inspired the Tea Lounge.
Oh god,
To read that. Yeah.
okay. There you go. Like, I love how much like you're pulling in and joining into the rewrite. Moving on into the future, I mean, we've already delved into it with Yinka, Where Is Your Husband, and how it's going to be developed into a film, which is really exciting. And so I suppose we've kind of answered that question in a way, but I was curious to know, I guess, what the next steps are and whether you would want to stick with the format of, novels or like kind of delve into like script writing in the future, or yeah, I would just love to hear like the future for Lizzie and your work.
So, working on my third book at the moment. I can't really say too much about it, but it's going to be in
Hmm.
the same kind of universe as To Be Right and Yinka, set in South London,
Oh,
have like,
lovely.
it'll have a cast of like, eccentric for characters, and it'll be kind of written with the same wits and style as well. And then beyond book three, like I said, I think I'm about maybe trying something different. We'll
Hmm.
see. I'm interested to find out from you actually more about playwriting and
Oh.
writing scripts and how you find that as well, because when I write, I kind of like write with rhythm.
Mm.
And part of the like everything from example, like the description to the dialogue had to kind of go with the melody in my head. And
Okay.
so I don't know how I would be able to kind of like translate that to script writing because it's just
Hmm.
basically just dialogue, right?
Yeah.
It's more stripped down. And also I've heard that you have to be very economical with your words as well, because
Hmm.
especially when it comes to TV shows, like every word counts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would love to find out from you, like, what is your experience? Have you tried doing creative writing, and which one do you prefer?
I feel like I really enjoy the process of playwriting just because there's so many different like elements involved with it. So of course the main parameter of like the text itself is, dialogue heavy. So you've got to really drive with the dialogue itself as opposed to describing what's going on stage. So if you over describe like in the set or what the character's doing, whoever's critiquing the work, they're like, okay, you're described. Don't tell me, show me. So it's all about like showing the audience what's happening. But what I particularly love about playwriting is like you can involve things like movement and like how lighting can influence the work. And yeah, I think movement within theatre is like a really beautiful thing. So you were saying how rhythm's really important to your writing. I feel like potentially working with like a movement director or kind of envisioning how the rhythm can flow through the characters but physically on stage could be a lovely way to incorporate that into potentially playwriting in the future. And when I graduated from university, I was very much like, I'm writing play, I've got a whole list of plays I'm gonna write. And I wrote three, and then what happened, life happened, and then I've actually not continued with that. Though there's not a full stop there, just a little semicolon or a comma. But like yourself, I feel very passionately about representing my culture and my heritage. So a lot of my characters were very focused on British, Asian, Punjabi identity. But again, another similarity that we have, and I think that's probably why I really appreciated your work as well, is really, involving comedy into the text. So
Right.
yeah, so I'd like delve into, I guess, darker, deeper topics, but then I'd always want to have that uplifting moment of comedy. And one of my inspirations is Grinda Chudder, who's directed Bend It Like Beckham. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
it before.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so the absolute classic. That is like number one film in any Punjabi British Asian household. That was like the biggest moment of representation for a soul. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. But what I loved about all the films she's directed is she's always had that balance of comedy mixed with tackling like hard hitting topics. And I feel like through playwriting, you can really bring that to life because it's just visually there in front of you. You can have music. I love music so much. So I incorporate a lot of music into like texts that I've written in playwriting too, which is obviously you can reference it within text, but you don't get to fully experience it and hear it. Whereas on stage, you can do that. So I guess it's just yeah, it's a different dynamic in terms of like you're literally bringing the words on paper to life on stage, and I think that's what's like really excites me about playwriting is like
Yeah.
the whole process of it and the journey potentially of just yeah bringing it on its feet. Well, thank you, Lizzie. Thank you so much for joining me on the 184 podcast. It has been a joy speaking with you and delving into your journey and your process further. Is there anywhere people can follow you to stay in touch with your journey?
Thanks so much for having me, Vinny. Really enjoyed the conversation. So you can follow me on Instagram at Lizzie Blackburn or X. I'm okay on X, not that often. At Damilola Lizzie.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been a joy to hear about your process and journey. And I'm definitely going to be staying up to date and I can't wait to see what amazing things are on the way for you next.
Oh, thank you so much. Likewise.